Hello, this is a short little video on graphing. Through the course Physics 1, you will be required to use linear graphs to write equations. And so this is just kind of a quick review of what you've done in your algebra class in previous years and trying to extend that just a little bit. So you can see that a graph is provided for you here, and we are going to work on writing an equation. You've encountered all sorts of graphs throughout your time in math class, but this is the simplest graph, and these are the types of graphs that you're going to see over and over again throughout the course, especially in Unit 1 and Unit 2. So looking at the graph, we can see that it is a linear line, right, a straight line. And so because it's a linear line, you can use the equation that you learned in your math class, that is y equals mx plus b. So that equation is used to graph this line, and if you were in your math class, right, you'd look down and you'd try to find the slope and the y-intercept. Now in this case, the slope and the y-intercept are given for you, and all the data points are graphed. Sometimes you're going to have to graph the data points, and you'll have to calculate out your own slope. If you do have to calculate out your own slope, you're going to draw the line of best fit, right? So it looks like it's going through most of your points here with this line. And then you're going to try to pick data points that lie on your line of best fit. As an example, this one here seems to lie on that line of best fit. And then this one here also seems to match up to our line of best fit. So remember, to calculate out the slope of anything, it is rise over run, or, right, to find the rise, it's y2 minus y1, and the run is x2 minus x1. So looking at the data points that we selected, right, our y2 and x2 is here, and so trying to estimate those values as close as possible, right? The y value seems to be at about 95. Right? And the x value seems to be at 9. So that is our y2 and x2. So now for our y1 and x1, right, if we follow this over, it looks like it is a y value of 15 and an x value of 1. That will give you your slope, right? Or at least hopefully an accurate slope, or close to the actual slope. In this case, the slope is given to us. Now you can see that there's this plus minus in that value. You can ignore the plus or minuses. All we want to focus on is this is the slope and this is the y-intercept. Well, because those numbers are given to us, we are going to use those instead of our calculated value. So now, if you're in your math class, right, to write that equation, y equals, your slope is 10.3, right? Your y-intercept, oh, don't forget your x, plus your y-intercept of 4. And if that was in your math class, the teacher would be thrilled and they'd give you 100%. Well, in here we want to take that equation, we just want to extend it a little bit. We want to give it, right, physics is not just a math class, but it's a science class, which means these values and these equations, they need to have a meaning to them. So instead of using this generic y equals mx plus b, we're going to make it specific to your graph. So instead of just saying y, we're going to represent what did we graph on the y-axis, right? Because that's what the y is. It represents your y values. Well, we were graphing cost on the y-axis. So instead of y, we're going to say c for cost. Right? Make up a variable that would match up with your graph. Now, for the 10.3 for the slope, that number, we want to give it meaning. And to give it meaning, we need to give it units of measurement. Well, if the slope is rise over run, right, that's where that 10.3 came from, we can find the unit of measurement by doing the same thing. What units are measured on the rise? What units are measured on the y-axis? Well, it's dollars. And then for run, what's measured on the run axis? Well, you see these numbers, it's really the number of CDs. So more or less it's compact discs, right? It's the number of compact discs. So now when we add that to our 10.3, we get $10.3 per CD. Now that number means something, right? It costs $10.3 for every CD that you buy. Okay, now onto our X, right? On the X again, we're doing the number of compact discs. So C equals 10.3, and we might say number of CDs, right? Kind of representing what's on the X-axis. And then onto the Y-intercept, the Y-intercept is 4. For what? What does that 4 mean? Well, if you look at where your line hits the y-axis, right, it means $4. So your y-intercept would be $4. Now, who knows what that $4 means? That's kind of crazy. It's like if you went to a music store, or maybe this is a graph representing one of those online sites where you can buy CDs. It costs $4 for a membership to get into the CD club, and then it's $10.3 per CD for every CD that you purchase. Okay, let's move on to the second example. Looks very similar. There's only one small difference here. That if you're looking at your slope again, remember, ignore the plus or minus, but the difference here is that the y-intercept is 0. And so instead of just using y equals mx plus b, right, you're essentially going to use y equals mx because there is no y-intercept, so you can just leave it off. So again, we're going to make it specific to this graph. Don't use y. What are you graphing on the y-axis? We're graphing scholarships, right? And then we have our slope of 500. Again, the units for the slope is, rise over run. So the units of the rise is dollars again. And the units of the run is the number of applications. So maybe we just put apps for those units. So now we have $500 per apps, right? So what does that number mean? On average, you're going to get $500 for every application to a scholarship that you apply to. So you apply to one scholarship, maybe you get $500. If you apply to 10 scholarships, well, now you're looking at $5,000, right? $500 per application that you fill out. Now, don't forget to put the variable for the x-axis, which is effort, right? We have effort in here for our x-axis, and then our y-intercept is 0, so that's it. So scholarships equals $500 per applications times effort. And that equation hopefully becomes useful, right? That you can now use this to make a calculation. If they said, okay, if you fill out 4 scholarship applications, how much money are you going to make? Well, if S equals 500, we're filling out 4 applications, so that's our effort, right? That means that S equals $2,000. Hopefully, we're going to get $2,000 in scholarships if you fill out 4 applications. Hopefully this is a quick review for you. If you have any questions, feel free to message me. Thank you.